Welcome, everyone, to the Monday edition of Fair Territory. Less than 2 weeks to go in the regular season. And yes, we have action. It's not total chaos. We've got some things that are pretty much decided: the AL Central, the NL Central, the NL East. The AL East and the NL West are trending that way. They got the Dodgers up 2.5, the Jays up 4 with 13 to play. But there's still a lot of things going on that are intriguing, and we're going to get into them in this program today. We're going to get into a lot of things, including what happened Saturday night in Milwaukee. Now, let's start with the AL West and wild card, because right now that is the most interesting of all the races. They're kind of both connected, and we have three teams in those races: the Mariners, the Astros, and the Rangers. And if you heard Brewers manager Pat Murphy after the Brewers clinched their postseason berth, he talked about the PECOTA projection system. And he talked about how the Brewers were projected by PECOTA to win only 80.2 games this year. Obviously, they've done much better than that. But the projection systems actually got the AL West right. And the projection system said at the start of the season that the Mariners, Astros, and Rangers would really be close the whole season. I remember Mike Petriello of MLB.com writing a whole story about this. And while it hasn't been the exact path that we might have thought, here we are with those three teams really close to each other. Now, this week is going to be huge. The Mariners have taken sole possession of the division lead for the first time since June 1st. Wow, 3 months. And now, with 9 straight wins, a huge week lies ahead because the Astros, the team that's been in first place for most of the season, their next 6 games are at home against the Rangers and the Mariners. Now, the Astros, they led the division by 6 games on July 23rd, even with all their injuries. 18 players on the injured list at one point, including, I believe it was 12 starting pitchers at the time. They still have 14 players on the IL, including Josh Hader. So it's been that kind of year for the Astros, and yet they've held on. They held on without Yordan Alvarez for a while, without Jeremy Pena. They've had all kinds of things happen. And yet, since July 23rd, they're 21-26. They're a bottom 6 offense in the major leagues. That is surprising to me. The Astros are a bottom 6 offense, and they really haven't been that much better since getting Correa, Urias, and Sanchez at the deadline, and then getting Alvarez back. You see the standings right there. This is the AL West. And the Mariners obviously up by a game on the Astros, up 3 games on the Rangers. The Rangers, to me, are the most fascinating team of all. For 5 months, they drove their front office crazy. They drove their fans crazy. They underachieved. Only after injuries to Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Nathan Eovaldi, and a bunch of others did they finally start to snap out of it. And they finally started to snap out of it with the players that their TV analyst David Murphy dubbed the Little Rascals. Who am I talking about? Cody Freeman, Michael Hellman, Dustin Harris, who has now been demoted, Alejandro Osuna. These guys, many casual fans have never heard of them. They've given the Rangers energy, and the Rangers are in a great spot here. Well, still an uphill fight, but in a great spot considering where they were. Adolis Garcia came back yesterday. He too was injured. And Corey Seager is expected back from his appendicitis or his appendix removal probably the end of this week. So the Rangers are in an interesting spot here. And let's not forget the Guardians either. The Guardians in this wild card race, here they are. They're only 2.5 out. You see the Rangers, they're 2 out in the wild card standings. The Guardians are 2.5 out. Now, with this late stage of the season, with so few games remaining, 2 and 2.5 is a significant deficit. It's hard to make it up. You kind of have to win every day. But we'll see what happens here because it's been unpredictable. And the Guardians, they've won 9 of 10. They, too, are a depleted team in many ways. Remember, they lost Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase because of the gambling investigation. And yet their starting pitching of late has been brilliant. Their reliever, Cade Smith, who is one of the more underappreciated relievers in the game, he's got saves in 7 straight appearances. They've been really good. So the Guardians, I wouldn't say they have a great chance. I wouldn't even say they have a good chance, but they're there. They're playing meaningful games on September 15th. And what I always say to fans is that really is the baseline of what you can ask of your favorite team. If they're doing that, you've had a fun season, as maddening as some of these seasons can be. Now, let's turn to the National League wildcard, because this one is something that none of us saw coming. The Mets finally ended their 8-game losing streak on Sunday. Both San Francisco and Cincinnati also lost, so they actually lost ground in this particular situation. So the Mets maybe have a little bit of breathing room. They're a game and a half over the Giants right now in the wild card standings, 2 games over the Diamondbacks, who suddenly have slipped into this equation, and the Reds are now 2.5 back. The Mets hold a tiebreaker over the Giants, not the Reds. The one with the Diamondbacks would be decided by intra-division record. It's complicated. Let's not even go there. But the Mets are still tied for the 3rd worst winning percentage in the majors since June 12th. 3rd worst. Tied for the 3rd worst. It's amazing what has happened here, and we're going to get into it more a little bit later in the Inside Dish. Obviously, they were 45-24 at one point. Their starting pitching at that point was the best in the majors. It has since fallen apart. We've seen them use their rookies, and actually to pretty good effect. Jonah Tong, I know, struggled Friday night, but Sproat and McClain were really good this weekend. The Mets are going to ride those guys. Sean Manaea is now in the bullpen. But as I said on Fox on our broadcast Saturday, if the Mets cannot make a 12-team playoff with a $340 million payroll, it's going to go down as one of the biggest flops in Major League history. Now, they should get in still, I believe. They've got the kid pitchers, David Peterson as well. It's not great, but it's good enough. But what's incredible to me is that it's even gotten to this point. Let's look at the teams, or talk about the teams that are chasing the Mets. The Giants, a team that sold at the deadline, a team that sold, in fact, a relief pitcher to the Mets, Tyler Rogers. The Giants, a team that about 2 weeks ago, people were talking about their manager, Bob Melvin, not coming back. The Diamondbacks, this is a team that also sold to the deadline. Let's not forget, Eugenio Suarez, Merrill Kelly, Josh Naylor, Randall Grichuk, all gone. Shelby Miller too, he's now hurt. They sold in a big way. They're still in contention. And then the Reds, who have kind of sputtered along all year, they're 2.5 back now. They're below 500. These teams are all hovering around 500. Nothing great on any of them. But they're in this race as well. And all 3 of these teams, as I mentioned, have at least some degree of hope. Now, the Mets have a somewhat difficult schedule remaining. Homestand continues against the Padres, who are starting to play a little bit better again, albeit against the Rockies, and the Nationals. And then they're on the road against the Cubs, who I guess would have clinched by the time this series takes place, clinched a playoff spot, I should say. And then they complete the season with Miami. The Giants, they're at Arizona this week. That's a big series suddenly. They've got the Dodgers in LA for 4. That's going to be a big series. They just played the Dodgers and lost 2 of 3. And then they're home against the Cardinals and Rockies. So if they can hang in, they end with a fairly easy schedule. The Cardinals, by the way, they're only 4 out in the wild card standings, and they've had not a great season. Then there are the Diamondbacks. They host the Giants and Phillies, and then they play the Dodgers, and they're at San Diego. They've got a really difficult schedule. And then Cincinnati at St. Louis, home against the Cubs, home against the Pirates, at Milwaukee, which will be lining up its playoff rotation. So there you have it. That's the NL race. And again, it shouldn't have ever come to this, but here we are. And I would expect, again, the Mets have enough of a cushion, even though it's not much of a cushion, but enough of a cushion to hold on here. All they have to do is hit. Yes, their pitching is problematic. We all know that at this point. They just haven't hit in the way that you would expect from a team with Pete Alonso and Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo, all of these superstar types. Nimmo, less of a superstar, but a guy who's highly paid for sure. And for whatever reason, they have not fired. So, all right, that is it for the pennant races. Now, finally, before we go into our next segment, the Inside Dish, I want to talk about what happened Saturday night when I accidentally bowled over Scott Paulus, the Brewers team photographer, while I was getting out of the way of the Brewers dumping water on Andrew Monasterio. Now, the ever-observant A.J. Przinsky joked afterward that I looked like Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. Now, AJ, of course, is more experienced in these kinds of interactions than I am. And I must admit, though, when I looked at the video, when I saw this, I was surprised at how upset I appeared. I was more confused than anything. Now, I had to continue the interview. We were live, folks, on national television. Couldn't stop. And that said, I felt awful about what happened. And afterward, I went up to Scott, who I've worked with in pits before over the years, and I apologized. And I apologized profusely because let's face it, I don't think that you ever expect knocking someone down is going to happen in any particular situation. So, yeah, sure. I apologized. And Fox is doing the American League playoffs this year. So I won't see the Brewers again unless it's the World Series. But if I do see the Brewers in the World Series, I look forward to working with Scott again in the photo pit, and I also look forward to sharing a good laugh with him over this. Okay, the inside dish is next. Stay with us.
I'm going to steal a line right from the top here about MeUndies. A cut for every butt. I took a line that I feel like you would enjoy, but then you stole my thunder with show and tell. What do you have there?
Besides a huge Baduka dunk, this is my pair of MeUndies that I got. I'm not going to show you the other pair right now because I got them on, but it doesn't even feel like you have them on. Super soft, flexible, and yet holding everything together.
I love the 20 different styles, 100 different colors and prints, and the micro-modal fabric is what you're talking about. Breathable, stretchy, unbelievably cozy. And right now, as a listener of FT, you can get cozy and spooky for less with deals up to 50% off at MeUndies.com/foul and enter promo code FOUL. That's MeUndies.com/foul, promo code FOUL for up to 50% off. MeUndies, comfort that's made for fall.
All right, time now for the inside dish, the part of the show where I talk about a story I've written, something going on in the game, or something else entirely. And I guess today I would classify this one as talking about something going on in the game and something I've written, something that's always been interesting to me. And the subject is chemistry, team chemistry. And as I wrote Friday in a column about Bryce Harper and the Phillies, chemistry can be elusive. It's difficult to capture. It's difficult to define, but it is something. And I know over the years when I used to work at MLB Network, I would argue with Brian Kenny about the importance of chemistry all the time. And Brian would poo-poo it. He would say, oh, it's not as important as the numbers, as performance. But if you've ever walked into a major league clubhouse, if you've ever covered the sport, if you've ever been around the sport in any meaningful way, and even if you're a fan watching the games, you know that chemistry does matter. And you know that teams with big stars often face a different dynamic, and occasionally it's an uncomfortable dynamic. Now, the subject of this column was Harper. And the reason I wrote it, because when I went to Philadelphia last week, a couple of people mentioned to me, a few people mentioned to me actually, that they were worried or just thinking that maybe Bryce Harper was kind of put off or out of sorts a little bit, that Kyle Schwarber was getting all the attention because Kyle Schwarber, the 50 home run season, a magical campaign in his free agent year. And that struck me as a little bit odd, but I sort of understood too. Bryce Harper been on the cover of Sports Illustrated from the time he was 16 years old. That was the first time he was on the cover. And he's been the center of attention ever since then. He's a two-time MVP. He was the MVP of the 2022 NLCS. He is the alpha of alphas. So when I heard these people talking about that, they thought maybe Bryce was in a little bit of a funk because of it. I'm not making any of this up. This is people telling me stuff. So I go up to Bryce, who's always open to questions. And I said, hey, anything going on here? Are the Phillies in your mind still your team? And does it matter if they're still your team? And the answer he gave was enlightening. At first, he laughed. He thought the question, he didn't think it was offensive or anything like that. He just thought it was kind of funny. And here is what he said, because what he said, again, was revealing, at least in terms of his mindset, relative to Kyle Schwarber. I cut the quote down a little bit from the one I used in the column, but this is it. I think it's everybody's team in here. Kyle is obviously having an incredible year in a contract year as well. He's going to have that hype around him. I've never been that type of guy where I wanted it to be my team or someone else's team. Our main goal is winning. That's everybody's mindset. Now, I don't know that you can answer that question much better than that. It's practically a perfect answer, right? But at the same time, you just wonder how these things play out. Now, right now, the Phillies' confidence is rather striking. Being around them, you could feel it. This was, of course, in the middle of their sweep of the Mets, which was a great series for them. But even without Zach Wheeler, who's out for the season, even without Trey Turner and Alec Boehm, who are coming back but still injured right now, they have this vibe and feeling about them. Other teams have it too right now. I would say the Blue Jays have that kind of feeling. They've been really a great team all season long, most comebacks in the major leagues, and you sense a togetherness there. I think you sense it with the Mariners too to some extent, and I'm sure I'm missing teams, but you know it when you see it, and you know it when you don't. And that brings me to the Mets. Now, maybe the Mets finally snapped out of it yesterday. And let's be clear, as I wrote, the biggest problem with the Mets, by far, it's not even close, is starting pitching. What I said in the first segment rings true. They were 45-24 with the best rotation in the majors as of June 12th. It crumbled from there. Injuries, ineffectiveness, all kinds of things happened. And this is why they are now where they are, kind of holding on for dear life in the National League wildcard race. So that's the main thing. But as I also wrote, something seems off with them. Now, I don't know exactly what it is, if anything. The Mets' big stars, Lindor, Alonso, Soto, they're viewed by the team, by their own people, club officials, teammates, etc., all good people, all good guys. No one says this guy's a jerk, that guy's that, or anything like that. But is it all meshing together perfectly? I would suggest that the evidence says no. Now, the easy target here is Soto. He's the $765 million addition. He's the new guy, all of that. But he sure seemed to fit in well with the Yankees last season. And my goodness, he's having a season that is right up there with his best. And that's saying something because this is Juan Soto we're talking about. 40 homers, 32 stolen bases, 921 OPS, right there in the top 10, as he always has been, or as he often has been. The last 2 months since August 1st, he's been absolutely brilliant. So if you want to say the problem is Soto, if indeed there's a problem, I would push back on that. But is it possible that some stuff is going on here? Now, only the Mets truly know what is going on in their clubhouse. If there is indeed tension or jealousy or even friction, you can't say for sure. But these guys are who they are. This is what I want to stress here. They're who they are because they have massive egos. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. They have an incredible belief in their abilities. They're all alphas. And when you put these kinds of players in a room together, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It can be disruptive when you have big time players who maybe get along, but just have a wariness about each other. Again, hard to define, hard to capture, hard to even talk about because you don't know if it's there. But it has just been striking with the Mets that this has been such a slide for them. And yes, the starting pitching is the main culprit, but you just wonder, hey, what else is up with them? So the easy answer here, the way to erase all doubts and establish good chemistry, we know how the answer is. The easy answer is to win. And the Mets, for all their troubles, all that has happened in the last couple of months, they are still in a position where A, they can make the postseason, and B, they can go on a run. They're fully capable of doing that. And if they do that, these questions, all the things that I'm talking about, all the things I'm speculating about, those questions will fade. You won't hear anything about them. You'll hear about how they came together and were always together and it was all good. But if they don't get to the playoffs, if they have what I said earlier was an incredibly disappointing season and turn out to be one of the biggest flops in Major League history, yes, those questions might only increase. All right, so much for the Inside Dish. We'll be back with your questions in Grilling Ken after this.
Okay, Kratz, I opened up Arena Club, put my own money in there, And I wasn't going to go big. I know we went over the Ruby pack a week ago. This time I just went for the low level pack where it's an easy entry point, $25. You can get yourself a big boy card. The Grail has many good options. I slice open the pack. We're looking at it if you're watching us right now. And I pull a card from the 1950s. Super cool. I enjoyed the experience looking at it. It's Jim Gilliam. It's a top set from the mid 50s. It's cool. It's a Brooklyn Dodger, but it's worth more than the card. Like I said, I'm going to sell it back. I got $28 instantly, so I can buy another one of those packs and try and get what I want.
Absolutely. The excitement, I heard Kip say it before, the excitement's in the chase. You sold it back. Now you get to open another one. I enjoy when you slide it across the screen there and the pack opens.
You know where to go. arenaclub.com/foul. 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. Get after it.
BetMGM players will receive an MLB Parlay Boost token. To use the token, add a parlay wager made up of entirely MLB bets to your bet slip and activate the token. Score extra winnings if your wager that was made with the Parlay Boost token wins. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Ken, the part of the program where I answer your questions. Let's get right to them. First question comes from RPGman45, who asks, who's better right now in the AL besides the Jays? They can come back in any game. Very valid question. Now, Jazz Chisholm Jr. of the Yankees seemed to have his own answer this week. He said the Yankees were the best team in the American League, but I would agree with RPGman45 that the Jays right now, they're in a great spot to finish the season with the best record in the league over the Tigers. And yes, those 46, 45 come from behind victories are quite telling, but it's more than that. It's the kind of team that they've built, not just stars, but contributing players as well. And their deadline move for Shane Bieber, one that I wasn't sure about at the time, now looks like it was great. Shane Bieber has pitched wonderfully for them. He could be their game one starter. They've got Scherzer. They've got Gossman, who is hot right now. And their bullpen, which has been a problem. And Jeff Hoffman's given up a lot of home runs, yes. But they've pitched a little bit better of late. And this team just seems to have what I was talking about with the Phillies earlier. This quality about them. And it's a really good quality. Springer, comeback player of the year, I think almost for certain. Obviously, they need Bo Bichette back for the playoffs. Vlad's doing what Vlad does. I love the Blue Jays right now. And all that criticism I had of them really for, I guess, a couple of years when I would call them the paper tigers and question whether they had the chemistry to be a better team, to play to their talent level. Those questions for me have faded. Now, the playoffs are another thing, of course, and that wouldn't be nice to see them win a series finally. But yes, they've had an amazing regular season, a magnificent regular season. And I would say, despite what Jazz Chisholm might think, they're the best team in the American League right now. Let's go to the next question. This one comes from Henry, who asks, what is the key for the Mariners to make the World Series? Now, that's a good question, Henry, because the Mariners were in that incredible slide on that road trip to the East a little bit ago, and now they've won 9 straight. And they're like so many teams right now. You don't know exactly what to make of them. They're obviously good. And the deadline moves to get Suarez and Naylor clearly helped them. They are a team, too, that has a little bit of magic going right now. The walk-offs last week with Mitch Garver and Henry Ford, the rookie. All of these things are good. Their starting pitching has not been quite at the level where it's been in the past. And that's kind of a concern here. Brian Wu is a guy who is going to get some Cy Young down ballot votes. He's had a brilliant season. Castillo better in his last start, but he's been inconsistent. You've got Logan Gilbert. Kirby was really good his last start. They're fine, obviously. They're really good. And if these guys get hot, that's the key to them getting to the World Series. I still don't love their offense. It's not what I would call an explosive offense. Oh, and I forgot to mention that guy with the 54 home runs, Kyle Raleigh. But because of Raleigh, in large part, the offense is good enough. And Raleigh, my goodness, the fact that he's tied Mickey Mantle for most home runs by a switch hitter is an achievement that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. But for them to get to the World Series, I would say it really keys on their starting pitching. All right, let's get to the next one. This next question comes from George, who asks, what is Kyle Schwarber's per year value going to look like in free agency? George, great question. And I would say it starts with a 3. It's at least $30 million a year. I would not be surprised if it reached $35 million per year. And I would not be surprised if it went 4 years. Now, where do I expect him to be? I expect him to be a Philly. But what the price is going to be, that much remains to be seen. That said, Kyle Schwarber pretty much is going to get a lot of money. And because of his leadership qualities as well as his slugging, he's going to deserve it. All right. Thanks. And we will be joining you Thursday live with Alana Rizzo. Our usual Thursday show, 12:30 Eastern. Have a great week, everyone. Stay with us. Talk soon.